How's it going, YouTube? RoboSushi here, bringing you guys another Digimon TCG EX01 video this time. This will be the finals game from the Steel Fox locals that I played at this past weekend. It is going to be a GabuBond mirror, so a very interesting matchup, different techs in each of our decks that I'll go over as the video progresses. So here my opponent wins the dice roll and decides to go ahead and hard play the Mechanorimon, whiffing on the rookie turn 1. But Mechanorimon's a good tech, it helps from the rookie rush aspect that GabuBond can be. But it does pass me with enough memory to go ahead, Digivolve into the GabuMon from EX01, hard play a GabuMon, draw GabuMon, and Digivolve back in raising into a Kendo Garurumon. Passing my opponent over, he will Digivolve into the GabuMon in raising, and then go ahead and Howling Memory Boost my GabuMon to freeze it to keep it from attacking, just in case I guess he decides to block with the Mechanorimon. But I promote the Kendo, decide to go ahead and swing to get the draw for the Upa and the GabuMon effect to add a bond to hand, and go ahead and swing. I'm not afraid that he's going to block with his Mechanorimon, because if he does lose his blocker, and then he has to worry about more threats swinging constantly on the board. So I swing pretty much expecting him not to block, but even if he did block, it wouldn't be the end of the world. I do hit the Hammer Spark out of security, and my opponent goes ahead, passes over the turn to him, and raises up the GabuMon. Here he's trying to decide what he wants to do. He decides to go ahead and use Hammer Spark to go up to 2, and then Digivolve into the Lobomon to get a little bit more cycle, and then also swing security with the Lobomon to cycle a little bit more with the Upamon effect, hitting to the Hammer Spark, passing me over to 2. Here, so I'm looking kind of in a good spot. I do kind of a misplay here, not this one. I Digivolve into the Agumon, or the GabuMon back in raising, and then instead of Digivolving to the Kakumon right there, I should have gone ahead and swung at the Lobomon with the Kendo first, because even if he did block with the Mechanorimon, either one would have been fine, but here I go ahead and swing, I get the draw for the Upa and the effect, I add a GabuMon to hand this time off of the GabuMon's effect, and then with the EX01 Ikakumon, decide to go ahead and trade with the Mechanorimon because he can attack unsuspended Digimon without sources, so it's a good way to get rid of Mechanorimon in this deck, and if I did have that started at GabuMon, I would be able to take out that Mechanorimon and still live if you have 8 or more cards in hand. So I decide to end my turn by go ahead and playing Matt. I don't really have anything else that would easily pass him over to 1. I maybe have an Ice Wall in hand. Yeah, I do, looking from my hand there. But Ice Wall doesn't really do anything when he doesn't have anything on field, and I don't really want to waste it just to choke him at 1 memory. So here it looks like my opponent maybe doesn't have a rookie. If he does, yeah, at this point, unless there's a Strabimon in hand that I'm missing, he doesn't have anything. So he just decides to go ahead and hard play down the Cordramon, passing me over to 3. So at this point, I raise my GabuMon up, go up to 4, and I'm looking like there might be a chance I have game. It depends on what my swings are. So I decide to go ahead, swing with the Kendo, grabbing the mat off the GabuMon effect and drawing off the Upamon. Do hit a mat or a Ty Davis in security. And I wait for my opponent to resolve the effect before I decide what to do. He grabs his only target, which is the GabuMon, and here I'm looking like, do I go into Bond? If I can go into Bond, then there's a good chance I win the game, as long as I don't hit anything like a Hammer Spark or an Ice Wall out of security, and I've seen 2 Sparks already. So I'm feeling kind of confident, so I decide to go ahead, Spark up to 2, up to 5, just in case I hit a Spark, swing in, draw for the Upa, bottom deck the Cordramon, restand off of the GabuMon on the second swing. I do hit an absolute blast, but fortunately for my opponent, I do have enough sources to not lose to this one, or to not lose a Digimon, and then I go ahead and evolve into the Lobomon to end game 1 out there after the last GabuMon swing. On to game 2, my opponent lets me go first, which is really smart in this mirror match because usually you want to try to capitalize on any memory that your opponent gives you, because most of the time they're going to have to give you at least 3 usually, which is exactly what I do. Digivolve into EX01, Gabu, play the mat, passing the turnover, and he follows it up with the exact same play, except this time he's got a little bit more memory to work with. Doesn't really want to choke me. You can see the Ice Wall there. There's no point really to choke, like I mentioned last time. He does decide to play the Strabi, revealing 2 hybrids, a Lobo and a Kendo, and here I feel like he should take the Kendo just because it puts on some pressure, but he decides to go ahead and take the Lobomon and pass me over to my turn, and I'll go ahead and raise the Gabu to go up to 4. Here I will decide to go ahead and evolve into the Lobomon just so I can get the cycle with the GabuMon. My deck runs enough hybrids, I'm usually not super worried about losing them. Swinging in, I do get BT6 Gabu off the GabuMon effect, and then the Upamon, and I do hit into a blue memory boost. So here I'm trying to decide how do I effectively choke him to 1 as possible, and I decide to go ahead and spark up to 4, playing the Davis to choke him as little. He's going to gain a little bit more memory anyway, but that way he has to at least start with 2, raising up the Gabu. And I do take the EX01 Gabu off the Davis. So my opponent does raise up, go up to 2. Here he decides to do a little bit of a spicy play. It's kind of a dangerous play, especially since he doesn't have BT6 Gabu. He pops the memory boost to go up to 4, and then does decide to go into the Bond of Friendship, trashing 2 security. Now I do have 2 Tamers on board, so that's kind of dangerous for him if I do end up being able to go into swinging those little extra checks with the Tamers. But here he swings in with Bond, activates the effect of GabuBond, revealing 3 off the top, and decides to go ahead. He's thinking between the Mat and the GabuBond, does decide to take the GabuBond, bottom decking the Lobomon. First check is a GabuBond, so no worries there. Swings again, second check is a Lobomon, so he still lives. So I'm looking, he's not really in the worst spot at this point, but he does decide to go ahead and swing with Strabimon. It does die to a Bond though, so now at the end of his turn, his board is gone, which is kind of not looking great for him. If he doesn't have a board presence and I have access to hybrids, then there's a worry that he could lose in on the next turn or 2. So here my opponent's thinking about what to do and just decides to go ahead and play the Cordrabond. Kind of a risky play, does pass me to 5 memory. I don't necessarily know if that was the exact right play to do, because it does pass me to a lot of memory, which GabuBond can usually capitalize on, which is what I try to do here. I play the Digivolve into BT6 Gabu, play the Mat, go to 2, Hammer Spark up, go to 3, play EX Gabu, and then Ice Wall to 1. Ice Wall is just such an oppressive card in the format. You basically stop your opponent from doing anything from that turn unless they have an ability to OTK you without passing turn with Ice Wall, which is very rare in most of the situations. So here my opponent goes ahead and Digivolves into that BT6 Gabu he got off of the search earlier. Ice Wall's back, the perfect counter to Ice Wall, ladies and gentlemen. Ice Wall. And then here he goes ahead and plays a Davis, searching the top 3, takes the GabuBond, it's his only target, does pass me to 4. I do raise up to the GabuBond, go to 6. And here I'm looking like I think I have a hybrid in hand, so at this point I have access to game. So I go ahead and decide to swing with the GabuBond, draw for the Upa. Here my opponent doesn't realize that Ice Wall affects everything, even if it's in raising, even if it comes into play that turn and swings. Learning how absolutely busted this card can be in the matchup, but here I'm trying to tell him that even if the hybrid comes out, that it can still give me the negative on the memory. So the check just finally goes through, and it is a GabuBond, so that will die. I will swing with EX GabuBond, go down to 2, hit the Cordrabond, and then I do have the Lobomon for game. So very kind of tight situation there. If I didn't have the Lobomon, then I could have been in a bad situation. And that will be the match, everyone. I did get this one 2-0, winning my locals. As you can tell, the GabuBond mirror is kind of awkward. If you don't have all the counters to some of the plays that can happen, you can run into the Cordrabond, which can be dangerous if they have too many Tamers, or you hit a Tamer out of security that sets them up for a follow-up play. That can also be dangerous. If your opponent has Ice Wall Pass and you don't have Ice Wall Pass back to maybe counter that play that they're going to do, then that already in and of itself is kind of dangerous, because the best counter, like I said in the video, to Ice Wall Pass was Ice Wall Pass. So, but if you guys want to know any other tips and tricks about the mirror, GabuBond is one of the decks that I main. I do have a lot of experience playing the deck. I've play tested it quite a bit at this point. I wouldn't mind making a little tutorial or discussion video going over some plays, going over some things to think about in the mirror, or to think about in different matchups if you're thinking about playing this in Nats, just to give you guys a little bit of insight on my end. And then also know that we do have 4 Ice Wall for this Nationals until the 25th. If you don't have if you aren't expecting to see 4 Ice Wall, we have 4 Ice Wall at Nationals until right before BT7 drops. So just know that going forward, especially for the mirror, or if you're playing something else that isn't GabuBond. So just know that for the future. Anyway, guys, that'll be it for the video. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like on the video, leave a comment down below, let me know what you think about the deck, about the mirror. If you made it through all my rambling, maybe leave something like Ice Wall Pass, Ice Wall Pass. That way I know that you've made it all the way through all of my mirror match ramblings. Other than that, be sure to subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for more Digimon TCG content going forward. And until next time, guys, have a great one.